It's finally here! Today we're testing InZOI's character demo, which is available for free for a brief period of time until the game comes out in early access, allegedly sometime later this year. Hello everyone, I'm Bibi, and on this channel I play The Sims 2, which in my controversial opinion is still the best life sim game out there, but today we'll be trying out InZOI's demo. I'm not sponsored, your girl is too broke and irrelevant for that, okay? But no, really, pretty much everything we've seen so far about this game has been from people who were sponsored, which is to be expected, but there's always the question of, can someone who is paid to promote this product give an unfiltered opinion about it? However, now that we have a demo and everyone can try out InZOI's character maker, I'm sure we'll see many more people pushing the boundaries of this game and sharing their thoughts on it. I've already seen some interesting reviews, and overall everyone seems incredibly impressed and hyped about this game. This move by Krafton, the developer of InZOI, is very similar to what EA did back in the day before The Sims 4 came out. They did release a character creator demo, and I remember playing that demo back then, and I found it so impressive, and I was so happy that it worked on my ancient laptop. But it's been 10 years of that, and now the future is here. Or so they say, because InZOI's characters are extremely gorgeous and realistic, and everyone is obsessed with them, which is understandable because obviously the game is visually stunning, there's no doubt about that. We haven't had a game like this in the life sim genre, we haven't had many big games in the genre to begin with, but of all the Sims games, I still prefer The Sims 2, which is 20 years old and definitely not realistic looking, so graphics aren't everything for me personally, but I'll talk more on the overall implications of InZOI and the life sim genre by the end of this video. For now, let's make some characters and focus on this demo. The first thing I tried to make was a recreation of my Legacy Challenge founder Lucia Visconti. If you're into challenges and you're into that kind of gameplay, go check out that series because we're having so much fun building lore and relationships in our custom neighborhood. But yeah, TLDR, translating a cartoonish looking character into a hyper-realistic creature didn't really work out too well for me, or I still suck at this, which is entirely possible, but I wasn't super excited about this result, to be honest. Still, it's a pretty cool looking character. But while you're watching my experiments with the demo, I'm gonna give you guys a list of my pros and cons, my first impressions with creating characters, so that it's easier to follow along. Because I had specific things to point out that left me either a positive or not so positive impression. Starting with the things I liked, it's obvious, but if realism is your thing and you've always wanted that in a life sim game, then InZOI is probably your dream come true. In fact, the Zois are so realistic that while I was editing my footage, my editing software recognized the character's face and suggested some auto touch-up filters. I know a lot of Sims 4 players in particular don't like the cartoony look, the exaggerated animations and behavior. People often focus on creating realism in their gameplay too, they get mods for that, so InZOI is bringing that vibe as a part of its core gameplay. The characters look phenomenal, they did a great job with the diversity. There are color wheels, sliders, many settings you can choose from to change a character's skin and hair color. The textured hair in the game honestly looks even better than the straight hair, at least to me. I just love how it looks. It looks like it has a weight and shape to it. It just looks so real, it's amazing. I found that most, but not all, of the controls are intuitive. If you've played The Sims 4 or other games with a character creator, you're probably familiar with the push and pull controls to shape the face and body of your characters. There are a lot of options to shape most of the parts of a Zoi's face and body, not so many body modification options. We'll talk a little bit more on the body shape in general later because I have a bone to pick with that. But for face customization, the game is pretty good. You can even turn off symmetry, which I love. I love asymmetrical characters because most real people aren't symmetrical either, so having asymmetry is great. The demo feels smooth, it runs well, it did stutter here and there for me, but nothing too bothersome. I don't have a super high-end PC, so I wasn't expecting flawless performance. This is a bit more specific, but the kids look incredibly cute. They do look a little bit like miniature adults, which sounds strange, but like a child is like a small person, not a small adult, you know what I mean? The kids in this game kind of look a bit grown but with tiny proportions. I still find them cute though, and even though we don't have babies in this demo from the screenshots we've seen, I think the babies look absolutely adorable. I like the personality system too. I made a short video about that. I usually don't make shorts because I always have too much to say, but I wanted to address it quickly when it was revealed. It's based on the Enneagram. Some people said that it's MBTI, but it's actually the Enneagram. Either which way, there are similarities between the two systems, and MBTI is much more popular anyways, so it's natural for people to associate it with that. But yeah, I like the system. It looks quite detailed. However, we've yet to see in great detail how it actually works in the long run in terms of gameplay. The biggest issue of The Sims 4 is that the personality traits don't really seem to do much because all Sims are just bound to their emotions and behave exactly the same based on that. I believe Crafton originally showcased a traits-based system for InZOI, correct me if I'm wrong. I suppose that was changed along the way for whatever reason. I read comments and some people were disappointed with that change, but as I said, we've yet to see how this will play out and if it was a good decision. There are certain functions in this character creator demo that are still in development, but overall I'm really impressed with what we have so far. InZOI was developed fairly quickly, I believe, from what we've seen, and they've already done and shown us so much. They gave us a playable demo, they're meeting deadlines, they're promising and pretty much delivering on everything they said they'll do. If you're a gamer who keeps up with other games and franchises, you're surely aware that scam games, false promises, AAA titles that are broken upon release, all those things are unfortunately so common these days, so naturally many gamers are skeptical about any new release that promises the world in that. I know that many live simmers were skeptical of InZOI 2, I wasn't too excited either, but I'm generally open-minded and I'm always willing to playtest things despite my criticisms or initial opinion. But it seems that we are headed to a pretty successful early access. I've been playing Manor Lords, for example, which has been an excellent early access experience, so I think with all those things considered so far, InZOI could also be another game that comes out in a fun, playable state even while it's still in active development. Now, I said a lot of praise, but I do have some criticisms. These might be a little bit random, but I played the demo for about 3 hours, so these are things that I noticed. The first thing that I actively dislike is choosing a character name before you create the character themselves. This one is just a weird choice if you ask me. I definitely feel like you should be able to change the name while you're in the character creator screen. I know that many players, myself included, often don't know what kind of person they're making when they start creating their family. I also watched other reviews and saw many players who were confused by the game placing the box for a last name above the first name. However, since this is the Korean game and that's normal in their culture, I wasn't surprised by it. Also, I didn't see any options to randomize the names or the appearances of Zois. I think a function like that would be a useful addition. Another thing that I felt the game is lacking is separate presets for facial features or a way to mix two presets with maybe like a slider or something. I don't know how that would work. I know I'm coming from the perspective of creating characters in The Sims, but I didn't really like how you can find the perfect preset and you really like it, but then maybe the only thing you want to change is the chin or eye shape, but you can't do that. You're just bound with whatever preset you get. Also, switching between genders permanently changes the features of your Zoe. At least that's what happened during my gameplay. I did this and basically lost the progress of one of my characters because using the undo button didn't fix it. Her face was permanently completely altered. Her nose, for example, was permanently completely changed, including other features too. Thankfully, I had already saved my Zoe as a preset, but I don't like the gender bending my characters wasn't making an exact clone of them, just of the opposite sex. And I won't even get into the whole lack of gender diversity so far. I haven't been keeping up too closely with the dev updates on this game, but hopefully this is going to be addressed in the future. Right, my next criticism is that the game kinda lacks body diversity. I saw online discussions about this, and objectively, I understand that this is mostly due to rigging of the character's skeleton, the model, and how it interacts with the world. The limitations are there for the sake of proper animations and to avoid clipping with objects and other characters and such. But even then, I did notice some clipping with the neckline of one of my Zoes and the chest on the bigger boobie option. Not that this body diversity is extremely bad, it's mostly a personal nitpick. As a Sims 2 player, I know all about the lack of body shape choices, trust me. me. However, for a realistic game, I genuinely expected more variety in terms of body shape customization. They're doing the same thing as The Sims 4 where you have two sliders, one for fat and another for muscle, but then you can barely change the body silhouette that much. Most female Zois look like they have an hourglass figure regardless of their weight. Even the fattest characters have a small thigh gap, which is a strange choice. Like any totally normal gamer, I also tried to create myself in InZOI, and as a busty girly, I was a little bit let down that I couldn't make my Zoe represent my body accurately enough. The largest bust setting was still proportionately average to the rest of the body, which is okay, it's fine. However, I did notice that the bigger bust is already clipping with most form-fitting clothes. This seems to be a problem with the game. I've noticed lots of clipping during gameplay videos too. I also noticed that after 50 on the fatness slider, which is pretty much average in the middle, the bust size doesn't increase anymore at all. So the fattest Zois have the same bust size as the average Zois, which isn't how body fat distribution works. The booty size customization was limited too. You can't make your Zoe thick enough, can't give them a big juicy peach. Bodies in general seem very moderate and you can't do much more extreme proportions, but I think this is something that modders will absolutely change in the future. Again, they're doing it for the sake of proper animations and interactions. Some people care more about that. Other players don't mind clipping if they can get more diverse looking characters. I'm somewhere in the middle, I suppose. Like, I'd like more diversity, but it's not a game-breaking issue for me. Moving on, my next issue is that every time you change the hair, clothing, or presets of your characters, there's this super intrusive animation or something. I'm not technically proficient enough to understand this completely. I suppose it's the game rendering the different models and textures, but after playing for a couple of hours, it was genuinely irritating my eyes. It's just blinking all the time, every time. It's really annoying. At some point, I even switched to the cartoon filter because it felt less harsh to look at. The light is kind of dramatic too. I don't know, when I switched to the cartoony filter, I felt like it's easier on my eyes, if that makes sense. Oh, another thing that annoyed me is, see how these sliders have numbers that indicate the intensity of a setting? They're so sensitive, and I'm a bit specific, so I wanted to set a slider to exactly 50, but then it kept fidgeting to either 49 or 51, and it was driving me insane. So can we please, like, get the option to write down a number or lower the sensitivity of this thing or something? That would be amazing. The last thing I found lacking is that you can't really create anything other than modern looking Zois. I know some Sims players hate supernaturals and don't care for them, that's fine. But I'd love to create more fantastically looking characters or have more fashion and accessory choices from a different era. Something that's not just trendy at the moment. Custom content will be huge for this game because right now all the hair and clothes and accessories are just very 21st century life vibe. There's no way for me to create a Zoe that looks like a medieval elven princess or something. But I suppose this is not the direction of this game in general, and it will only cater to players who enjoy hyper-realistic gameplay and a modern urban setting, since that's what the worlds of InZOI are offering so far. I'm sure that when modding this game becomes a thing, we'll see custom content for anything you can think of, but in the current state of things, that doesn't seem to be an option, and I honestly missed it. I tried to create a Zoe of my channel avatar. I've never talked about this, but my avatar is a mix of a night elf dryad from Warcraft and a Dunmer or dark elf from the Elder Scrolls games. Yes, I'm a bit of a freaking nerd, leave me alone, but the result was so uncanny. Honestly, the eyes in particular I find to be overall the most uncanny looking part of Zoe's, especially the light colors. Brown and black eyes look natural, they look great, but everything else is kind of giving that one Miley Cyrus meme. It's creepy and weird. So once again, custom content with new eye presets would be major for this game. At least I would definitely love to download some of those. Oh, and another thing, certain features don't work on computers with lower specs. Now, I have a decently beefy gaming laptop, which I bought just 6 months ago, but my GPU, my graphics card, underperforms a bit on the recommended specs for the game. The demo runs smoothly, minus a few small hiccups, and I'm not running it on the lowest settings. However, when I tried testing the AI feature, which as an artist, by default, I don't vibe with generative AI, but I wanted to test it for the sake of the demo, well, I couldn't do that because the game just straight up refused. This is honestly more annoying than allowing me to run the AI and suffering the consequences. If my computer sucks at it and it's super slow, I naturally won't use that feature, but no, the cat shows up to meow and mock me for being too poor to afford a more expensive device. Another function that was inaccessible to me is the face recognition option. It requires you to download an app on your smartphone, which is already annoying. Like, why does this game want me to do so many external things? Just let me play. Whatever, it asks you to download an app, but it's an app only available on iOS, which I don't own. Samsung for life? Come on, Krafton, you're a Korean company, like what is this? But yeah, neither of those two options were available for me. I'm not dying to use those anyways, but I'm not buying a more expensive PC or an iPhone just to get the most out of this specific video game. So I think these are all of my notes so far. I mentioned in the beginning that I'll briefly touch on the implications of what InZOI, if it turns out to be an incredibly successful game, could do to the life simulation genre. Now, despite my negative notes, the demo is really good overall. The characters are gorgeous, people are super hyped for this game, absolutely obsessed with it. I'm sure it'll sell well, that's like a guarantee, I believe. Will it replace The Sims? Is what everyone is asking. And I think people are asking the wrong question. And this is something very, very specific to The Sims fandom in particular. If you're a fan of, let's say, real-time strategy games, you usually don't just play one game. You probably have your favorite, right? Of course you do. But you play other things as well. It's not a question of either or. So why can't we have both? Why can't we have a good Sims game and have InZOI too? Both games can coexist and be fun and have a solid fan base. I would play both if they're both good. Obviously, I play The Sims 2 on this channel, but I also play The Sims 4 off camera. I play tons of other games too. I've just picked a niche. If I wanted to be a variety gaming channel, we'd have The Sims, Minecraft, City Skylines, Souls-like games, farming sims, cozy games. So if InZOI is good, I don't think Simmers will or should abandon the Sims franchise. You can enjoy both. You can play both. And you can let both games carve their own path and be their own thing. They don't have to be similar. In fact, it's probably best that they're not, so that each can cater to a broader audience of players who enjoy different types of gameplay. I am personally most interested in not just the realism that InZOI has to offer, but mostly the replay value. That's probably the biggest factor that will impact the success of this game. You can play challenges, do tasks, aim to complete aspirations and goals, but for the most part, you're supposed to be able to make your own fun and indefinitely play in these worlds. And if the core gameplay loop is not fun to experience over and over again, I don't see myself personally playing this game for years and years on end. People still play The Sims 4 even though it's buggy and it's 10 years old. People still play The Sims 2 even though it's 20 years old because it has so much fun core gameplay that even the vanilla game can still be a fun experience, let alone with mods. Modding will be huge for InZOI. I'm absolutely sure of that. From what I've seen, the developers are supportive and open to modding too, so this game definitely has the potential to form a solid fan base that will play it for at least a decade or more. I think we're witnessing the birth of something huge for the live sim genre. Even if down the line I don't really pick up to play this game as a long-term favorite of mine, I can absolutely see and understand the appeal and why it already has such a huge fan base, and I can see it becoming a new staple in the genre. The only thing I can think of that might potentially kill this game is if they force players to be always online, or they lock tons of things behind a paywall, like scummy monetization tactics basically. Personally, I don't vibe with games like that, and I would be skipping it entirely if they go in that direction. Another thing that might break this situation is if they release it in early access and then just leave it, leave it at that. Don't introduce enough updates or new content at a reasonable pace, or in the worst case scenario, they drop the project altogether. I don't see that happening, but who knows, like we can never be 100% sure of these things with the current state of the gaming industry. So yeah, this is my take on InZOI so far based on this demo and the gameplay footage we've been shown. I'll probably change my point of view in the future when new information comes out. Is it a Sims killer? I don't think it should be. I think they can coexist. But for players who have been waiting to jump ship for a long while, it could be their Carpathia, it could be the alternative they've been waiting for. Let me know what you think about InZOI in the comments. Please keep it polite. I've seen people passionately fighting over this topic, and I just want to have a civil conversation. Share your thoughts, be kind to people. Tell me, did you try the demo yourself? Can your PC run it? If not, are you willing to upgrade just for InZOI? Or do you not care at all? Leave your comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Subscribe if you enjoy live sim games. I do builds and long-form storytelling in The Sims 2. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon with another video. Bye for now.